Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody else from the Economic Development Tax Area, which is Carole Kraus, co-founder of New York State Property Tax Reform Coalition.
Good evening. I speak on behalf of the New York State Property Tax Reform Coalition, an umbrella group of volunteers representing the interests of over 50 grassroots organizations and thousands of individuals throughout the state who urgently seek property tax relief and reform via legislation. The legislation we advocate is called the Omnibus Property Tax Reform Relief Bill. It's also more popularly known as the Circuit Breaker. I hope some of you, if not all, have heard of it. In recent weeks, we finally, since Cuomo has gone in and started talking about the tax levy cap, I think the whole world has opened up to various considerations. Our concern with Governor Cuomo's budget is it contains no property tax relief. There's nothing in it for property taxpayers, many who pay 10, 20, even 50% of their income in property taxes. These New Yorkers have been promised property tax relief during years and years of campaigning by now elected officials. They are not the few. They are not people living beyond their means. They are primary homeowners in their homes for 5, even 50 years. They are one of every 5 homeowners in the state. What virtues a property tax cap may be seen to have as a way to limit spending, it will not provide property tax relief. It will neither reduce nor even cap anyone's actual tax bill. Surprise, surprise. In fact, the tax levy cap is essentially irrelevant to these needs. By way of illustration, let's pretend we're shopping for relief in a grocery store. I see the flashy tax cap package. I pick it up, I turn it around, I read the ingredients. No property tax relief anywhere to be found. Next, I look at the less splashy circuit breaker bottle. Relief based on percentage of income paid in property taxes. Yum, relief as a credit on state income tax or as a refund check. Yes, I want to know more about this circuit breaker. Let me take it home and try it out. In fact, all kidding aside, go home this evening, go to our website, it's nyspropertytaxreform.org, and find your own family's relief with the circuit breaker calculator on the website. Plug in your gross income and your property taxes and find out how the circuit breaker might reduce your own property tax burdens. So what exactly is the circuit breaker? Here are its chief components. First, it is legislation authored by property tax advocates, educators, and economists. As I said before, it's also known as the Omnibus Property Tax Relief and Reform legislation. It builds on the existing circuit breaker law in place for decades in New York State. 35 states have circuit breaker protection for their taxpayers. The circuit breaker is financial relief for those paying over 6% of their income in property taxes if they earn less than $250,000 and have lived in their homes for more than 5 years. It has relief for renters also. Full relief is actually phased in over a 4-year period in consideration of the state's fiscal situation. Ultimately, the circuit breaker is emergency relief for those most overburdened while we reform school and municipal funding, address mandates, consolidations, and so on. For now, let me give you a real-life example of how the circuit breaker can help a person. Say your income is $80,000. Your property taxes are $8,000, which is 10% of your income. We like to say pull the circuit breaker lever, and your net property tax will be $5,760. 7.2% of your income rather than 10% of your income. Your net relief, which comes as a income tax credit or a check in the mail, is $2,240. I have about 1 minute to go. Does that sound good? I think so. Many think so. Is it expensive? Not terribly. What will it take? Year one, we need $1 billion, and then there's a 4-year phase-in. Where will we find the money? And I realize that's the crux of the matter. We implore the Assembly to consider 2 reasonable funding options, perhaps both in combination, that could make the desperately needed circuit breaker doable this session. First, extend the millionaire's tax and allocate a portion to homeowners. It makes no sense whatever to deprive the state of some $5 billion in annual revenue by letting the temporary tax expire while the crisis for which it was levied is still upon us. Again, $1 billion to fund the circuit breaker relief the first year. Part 2, begin restructuring STAR, giving its current beneficiaries the choice of staying in STAR or transferring to the circuit breaker. Those who opt for STAR would be grandfathered for as long as they remain in their current homes. However, from a given date onward, STAR would be closed to new entrants. The savings from STAR would grow significantly over time and help fund the circuit breaker. I think many, I'm sure you understand that the STAR is considered a cost-effective, fairly inefficient type of relief that up until this year has gone to homeowners irrespective of need. In this and any economy, our dollars should be well spent. Taxation should be fair and based on ability to pay. Schools and municipalities should be supported by all taxpayers, not just primarily homeowners. New Yorkers shouldn't have to choose between schools and economies. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, the Omnibus Act that you're talking about is sponsored right now by Sandy Gala, who's a friend of mine, and I just happen to be co-sponsor. So, and I was last year as well. So you're kind of preaching to the choir with me on that one. It died in committee, by the way. And obviously, since it's a bipartisan bill, it was killed in committee in a bipartisan fashion. Sandy put it in again, and I'm still the co-sponsor. We'll keep fighting to fight.
Is it the funding?
Well, part of the problem towards the end of the last session, and it got a little contentious there after a while, was the idea of not wanting to spend anything on anything. And it, you know, there came a point in time when we were looking to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which kind of was stupid, but then we do many stupid things up there, you know. We've met the enemy and he is us.
Yeah.
So, well, it's true though. I mean, but in the same token, you got a lot of good people on both sides of the aisle and on both sides of every issue. And these people care, and everybody is not, as the gentleman from the Red Cross pointed out to you, we're not sitting there on our thumbs. In 120 days, I voted on 600 bills. So the question is not so much what we do, it's how we prioritize what we do. The last bill I voted on, by the way, was the budget. It should have been the first one. So, but it is a good idea, you know, linking your property tax to a portion of your income. I think a lot of people, plus many of you probably know, we have the dubious honor of having the highest property tax in this county in the United States of America, not just New York, the whole country. Counties surrounding us have state aid that offsets those taxes, the school tax, which is 70% of your taxes, by as much as 40 to 45%. We in Westchester get to pay 93% of the whole thing. And I have argued with people on both sides of the aisle about trying to change the funding formula. The problem we get with that, just very quickly, is when I talk to my colleagues on either side of the aisle, they say, well, that's great, Bob. I feel your pain. But if I give you more, I got to pay more because you're taking it from me. So this is sort of a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way, as they used to say. I don't know where we're going with that one, but the fight is continuing, just so you know.